it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. All right, prepare yourself for another doozy. Please only take this message if it resonates. It hardly makes sense to me, but I am getting this, and so I'm just going to pull this through. I feel like what I'm picking up on here is I'm hearing the words like pirate and marauders. Like these are marauders, but this feels like on an energetic level. And I feel like that's what you have been dealing with. And I feel like that's kind of the energy that I've been picking up on, that kind of it traces back to like the ancient Egypt times, because I keep seeing like the Eye of Horus, that like classic kind of Egyptian eye looking thing. And there's some kind of magical cult is what I want to say, that I think goes maybe back through the ages or back through time. And it's this kind of like group of souls that figured out how to manipulate some kind of energy or some kind of power for some kind of selfish gain. And I feel like this was like passed on to others in this group. Now, this is not a soul group, but this is a like karmic souls that kind of like stick together, and they have built up quite a gnarly karmic kind of tar between them, but it functions kind of like a soul group. And the way that I would describe this is kind of like the Sith to the Jedi, because I feel like you and I, we come to earth, we're trying to clear our karmas, we try to learn spiritual lessons, ascend, get closer to spirit, and we do that because we have our soul groups that we're like working with and have bonds with and have been working with, and we have our guides, we have our gurus that help to assist and guide us, and all of that is motivated by the energy of love. But the guru is somebody, like your guide is somebody that is the rock that is higher than you, right? Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And so you prostrate yourself to that process, but you are being guided by love. Well, these souls, I feel like, had soul groups at one time. And I actually feel like you're dealing with a soulmate here that like sold you out. But this is like on a spiritual level. And there's some kind of pirating, and there's some kind of, I want to say like energy thieving. And I feel like that's why you kind of feel bound to this person, but this person has not been good to you, or like this person hasn't done anything for you, or you just don't feel any, like there's no reciprocity. They're giving me the word reciprocity because reciprocity is an energy of love, and that is an energy that would clear out karmas, but they don't cancel out their karmas. They weaponize karmas is what I'm getting, in order to like kind of keep people bound. So I feel like they're also giving me the word dismissive avoidant. Now, I'm not saying all dismissive avoidants are this way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're all this pirate marauder thing, and they're I'm not saying that at all, but I think what I'm getting is like this person that you've been dealing with. I think the reason, I want to say they cast this spell, the reason that they cast this spell over you, and I don't think it's in this lifetime, although it could be, this feels like holdover magic from the past. It feels like an energetic slavery is what it feels like, where you're being milked almost for energy. So the other thing I want to ask you to consider is if you have, and I mean this in a visceral kind of way, because I think in a certain sense, maybe all of us could answer yes to this question. But if you've worked harder than you've received, like money for, or like appreciation for, something like that, because it feels like a blockage of the absorption of the karmas that you've created. That's just what I'm getting, because this feels like a leech, somebody who's like hung on to your energy and is kind of milking the excess or something. So I feel like you've been working really hard, maybe like, and I don't just mean for like a period of time. I think this is like maybe chronic with you. And I think like you're kind of like a giver. And so you create a lot of good karmas. And I think on an energetic level, you're kind of a big juicy berry. You know what I'm saying? And this fallen soulmate of yours is what I want to say. Like, I think this person at the very least used to be in like your soul pod, but for some of you, they were like closer than that, but they broke the bond and they kind of sold you out. It's giving like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat and his like brothers selling him into slavery. It's giving that, but like on an energetic level. But I think it was because of some type of vengeance plot is what I'm getting. But this is like against your guide or like your guru, because I think your guru was doing what they were supposed to do. They are acting in the energy of love, they are sharing what they know to be true in order to assist in liberating souls. And that truth is what it is. But I feel like this soul didn't like that. Like they took it very personally, or they felt like they were being slighted or something. There's like a lot of haughtiness, a lot of like being proud. And they didn't like the path that this guru had outlined for them, or like this guide. They didn't want to have to like go through something. They felt like that was like not fair. And I think there was like some pettiness here, like even energetically, it feels like. And so they were tempted off of their path. And that's what they're kind of showing me with this like marauding group here, this like pirate group. I'm literally seeing that from one of my decks. Like it's a pirate card, and I'm pretty sure it's the 8 of Cups. Yeah. And so these pirates kind of get souls to leave their soul pods, because that 8 of Cups energy, it's like there's a lot of love, and they kind of get them to go off on their own or something. And then they form this group of, it's kind of the island of misfit toys, and they want stuff like on the material. They don't, this is the Sith. This is like they channel dark force energy. I'm literally seeing like the lightning kind of shooting out of, Palpatine's fingers, and it's like decrepit, but the way there's something that they've figured out, this group of souls, and I wouldn't understand this. And I don't know if these souls even understand this even now, because I don't know what they did, but whatever it was, I do think it was sophisticated. And I'm just getting like layers and layers of like cloaking is what I'm getting. It's really, really solid cloaking. And I think that is the strongest thing actually that they have against you. Or like keeping whoever they're targeting with this, like keeping them bound and keeping like a pull on them energetically, is because part of the cloak is appearing as like a soulmate. And I think in part they can do that because they are thieving off of your energy. So I think that maybe they can mirror back certain traits that you have, certain personality quirks really well, because they're kind of stealing a bit of the energy. And I mean, it's like feeding off of a host is like kind of what it is. Like, again, I feel like it's energetic slavery. Oh my gosh. I just heard Fresh Out the Slammer by Taylor Swift. Fresh Out the Slammer. I know who my first call will be to. Yeah. Now, pretty baby, I'm running back home to you. I did my time. Now I'm going to be all right. I did my time. Because I feel like you're gearing up to break this. I feel like you've been waking up more and more, and I think your guides have been very gentle with you about this, because I feel like somehow like they're stealing the energy, and energy converts. Like money is energy, a lot, emotion is energy, like there's a lot, and I feel like it kind of like they convert the energy. So these people have certain like, I don't know, charms in life dangling off of their bracelet is kind of what I'm getting. So they might have like the spoils of good karma. They cloak themselves in that, but it's not their good karmas. Like I said, they actively don't clear their karmas. I'm seeing them like move karmas around on a chessboard in order to yield certain results. And it's like they kind of know how to create little pockets for themselves, or to not have something. This is elaborate. It's gone on for a while, but I'm seeing it coiled up like a spring. And I feel like when this breaks, and I think it's already, maybe for some of you it's already broken, or it's about to break. This is about to be absolute like catastrophe. This is so bad, whatever this is. I mean, it's going to bury them 6 feet under, and then some, whatever this is, because of what they've done to other souls and what they fucked with. I don't know what they did, like what they tapped into, what like energy stream is what I want to say, or they used something here. They figured out how to like weaponize something, and whatever it was, I feel like was a neutral force is what I want to say. And so it's not meant to be opinionated, but they knew how to grab it and like wrap themselves in it. Maybe it's like even the force of Maya. Yeah, illusion, Maya and illusion. I don't know, but they figured out how to kind of wrap themselves in it and give this like false image, but it's layered. I'm telling you, it's layered. So, and that would have you kind of still emotionally or energetically connected to to them in the past. And I think that they don't really add anything to your life, or like that they did you really dirty, because that's another thing is like I think they're kind of masters of the trauma bond is what I'm getting. So like where the Jedi operate via love, that's like your gurus and your guides that are assisting you, they're guiding you along the path in accordance with life and love and the pursuit of happiness and truth and God. And it's all in good faith. These people are actually preoccupied with the earthly realm and the material realm, where it's meant to be like an earth school, but these are people who have figured out how to exploit. These are like exploiters, and they have to be betrayers, like on a soul level. And I feel like you were somehow like targeted. And you know what? I've seen this like metal box. I don't think that I've mentioned it in the readings. I've seen it for like maybe up to a year now. I keep getting flashes of this like metal box, and it's huge. And it was like on the other side, meaning like, I think I saw it before I incarnated, and it had that insignia of the eye of Horus, like that Egyptian eye on it. And it was made of some kind of metal that like trapped energy, and it floated in, and it was talking to like me and my guide. I was like kind of curled up in the corner, and my guide was communing with it, and like could commune past the metal. And I don't know if that was for my safety or like my benefit, so that I was like not disturbed, but I feel like maybe they had part of my energy trapped in there, and maybe like some of yours and some of theirs over there. Like it feels like that, like and the energy on the other side would go naturally back to the souls, because we go over there to connect with God, but it's like this contraption that like kind of holds the energy in or something, and then you kind of plan your life out to try and like make the amends or something. But these are people that don't intend to do that. And I feel like they're really on the dark side. And they're comparing that to, for me, like the snake in the Garden of Eden, where it's that like tempting you off of the path of God. And I feel like there might be something to do with like, again, that tree of knowledge. But this is like not, it's like Sith knowledge is what I'm getting, which the Sith is like passion. Passion is what fuels the Sith. And I feel like that's maybe what the snake was tempting. And, you know, the snake is kind of a reference to Kundalini energy. And again, the teaching of like the sages is how to, when you awaken that Kundalini energy, well, you're not supposed to awaken it. Like a guru is supposed to awaken it, or like a natural process is supposed to awaken it. You don't want to go messing around with that, because you're going to mess yourself up, and then you'll have to seek out somebody that knows what to do, but then maybe you don't know what you did. And it's like, it can be very destructive. It can be yes, it's what leads to enlightenment, but it doesn't just like, oh, you activate it and then it leads to enlightenment. You have to like know what you're doing. And they really recommend that Westerners, people who live a Western lifestyle, like that's high stress and like maybe processed foods and, just being generally ground to death by capitalism, that your chakras are probably gunked up. Like so don't go trying to activate your Kundalini energy. Like, seek out your spiritual process the way that you normally naturally would, like allow it to be a natural kind of thing. But like the teachings of like a guru, it pushes the Kundalini like upwards, which up is a difficult direction to go, which is why you need skill and mastery and guidance and love and care, to push it all the way up. And then, when it, moves up like through the crown chakra, that's when you like merge with like the consciousness even while you're alive. But the knowledge of passion, it's that devil energy chasing moments of craving, and a lot of it is through the Shmegjul energy, but it's that coiled snake energy doesn't push upwards, it drops down. And they say, and I don't know how true this is, but this is just the way it's coming through. It's like, have you heard that like your brain kind of shuts off for a moment, like whenever you have the big O? And that is kind of akin to that like beautiful bliss, of maybe enlightenment, but it's so fleeting. It's a fleeting experience. But that's what these people are. These souls, essentially. And so, yeah, I feel like they plan lives together. And they shouldn't be together, any of them. They're all karmics to each other. They're certainly now very karmic to their soul tribes and the people that they've sold out. But they've sold out certain souls because they know certain souls maybe have developed a lot and maybe have good karmas. They know from being on the other side and from being in that soul group, they know kind of who they want to target. They know who is like maybe precious to like a certain guide or something that they feel slighted by, or a guru. I'm hearing guru in particular, like to punish the guru maybe for not giving them darshan, or like the guru maybe was just holding a boundary of like, you don't meet my qualifications for me to work with you. I can't, unless you're willing to do this, this, and this, I can't work with you, because that's basically my program, if you don't, and they refused that. But these are like, they didn't take well to that, whatever that was. And so I feel like they were siphoning energy, and it was through a person that you like held dear. And, now, I didn't really quite finish what I was saying with the dismissive avoidant thing, because I think part of what could have happened here, especially because I do feel for a lot of you, this is like maybe a soulmate or a soul tie to this person. I think that like it's kind of giving dismissive avoidant in the sense that dismissive avoidants are afraid to connect, right? And they're really actually drawn into like depth in a person and intimacy. But it also scares them at the same time because they usually been through some stuff in their past and they really don't like to rely on people and they don't like being intimate. So if you get into a relationship, kind of any kind, but definitely a romantic relationship with a dismissive avoidant, they'll really throw you for a loop because they might just leave suddenly, or they'll cheat on you with the most superficial of people, something that's totally meaningless, or they'll tell you that they're just not attracted to you anymore. And that's not necessarily the case, but their brain does that in order to kind of like protect them. So it's ironic because a lot of times dismissive avoidants, they usually like being alone, or they'll be in a very, very hyper superficial relationship because it doesn't chafe them. It doesn't challenge them. It doesn't bother them. They genuinely feel no connection to the person that they're with. They don't feel love. And so therefore they kind of don't feel triggered. They don't feel like, oh no, I actually feel like dependent on this person. It's like this person could, leave at any moment and I would be fine. That's the person they're going to marry. That's the person that they can sustain a long-term relationship with. But the person they actually care about, that starts to stir all like their feelings around. That's kind of what I'm getting here, where this person may have cast some kind of magic because like over you in a past life is what I'm getting, because they had that kind of fear of, it's like they wanted to be in a relationship with you, because a lot of dismissive avoidance, I'm thinking of like Thais Gibson, which she's like the GOAT when it comes to attachment styles. And she's worked with tons and tons of people. And she said like dismissive avoidance when they're in therapy with her, because they're not in love with her. She's the therapist. So they're not triggered or like threatened. So they'll open up and they'll say, well, I just met this person. I'm like super in love with them. I can't imagine like my life without them. This is going so great. Like they say stuff like that. They feel that. But then like the fear kind of starts to kick in. And that's when like their attachment style, kind of goes all crazy and haywire. So I feel like this person had that kind of feeling towards you. Like that's the one that I want. That's the one that I'm like enamored with. But it does feel like a genuine respect. It feels like a genuine intimacy, a genuine connection. But there's depth. So the same thing that they're drawn to, the depth, is the same thing that makes them afraid and makes them break the bond, usually in a way that you're just scratching your head. You're like, really? With that person? For that reason? This is hyper super fit. We have everything. And you're going to break it for that? Like it's that kind of energy. So I feel like this person kind of didn't want to come towards you, or like maybe you were in a relationship in that life and they got to that point and they didn't want you to leave. They wanted to put you in like a holding pattern is what I'm getting. So I feel like they could have done something that like did that, I don't know what it would be, but they just like weighted you down, or they kept you like stuck on them. And I think part of it was just, they could have ghosted. They could have done all the weird psychological things, of kind of keeping you on the hook, kind of the door open, leaving you waiting. Maybe they said they were going to come back or something and they never did. And they went off to do whatever they wanted to do, which is a lot of dismissive avoidance. They like just superficial relationships, turnover kind of relationships. Because again, it doesn't trigger them. So they could have done that, or they could have been with or pursued or gone back to some kind of extremely superficial connection. And that would be with this person, somebody else who's in this like pirate gang that also sells out their soul tribe in order to form like some kind of trauma bond is what I'm getting. They smash in is what I'm getting. They smash in. And I do feel there was a targeting here, and I don't know how it's done. Like, I think the same way our guides guide us from the other side, they have guides too. It's just Sith Lord. And so they have marks is kind of what I'm getting, like of people that they know they can like try to, or it would be good or juicy or worthwhile to kind of try to tap into their energy and steal like their good karmas. Now, your karmas are your own, and you can totally overcome this, because like I was saying, I feel like their biggest weapon against you is just feeling like this wasn't going on. That because we live in a world and we live in a time where we are scientifically advanced, and I'm a person who believes in science. There's like huge anti-intelligence, anti-science pushes right now. And because there's a difference between saying our intelligence is valid and yet it doesn't necessarily go far enough. There's always more for us to kind of like learn. And as we learn, things are going to get more nuanced or something, but it doesn't change that like a lot about what makes sense. It might make sense through a different lens, but that's different than just saying like, You get what I'm trying to say, right? So I feel like we live in a time where we don't understand energy. We know enough to know that like everything is energy, right? Think of like the laws of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. We know that everything is energy. You know that literally, this isn't just the spiritualists that say that you have a magnetic field. Literally and actually, you are a body that hangs off of the earth, and anything that does that has a magnetic field because the earth has a gravitational rotation. It's just natural. So it's just learning how to work with that energy. It's very scientific and it is very pragmatic. It doesn't say a lot of the things that the gurus have expounded upon, that the properties of our magnetic field, but we do know scientifically, yes, like a mountain has a magnetic field. You have a magnetic field, it's smaller than the mountains. So anyways, I feel like we live in a time where we don't fully understand this, like the way that energy works, like maybe they did in the past or will in the future. And we're kind of in the dark age, like the Kali Yuga, where we don't know ourselves to be a part of spirit. And think about like this time now, it's hyper exploitative. Like we live in capitalism. And don't you ever like look around and you're like, there's a lot of like, competition and like thievery. And maybe that isn't the way that God designed this place. Maybe it's these marauders. And that's maybe a legitimate part of the earth school is some people don't want to participate. I mean, remember being in a classroom when you were a kid? Some kids don't want to participate in the lesson. They want to, try to cause a disruption and like, and that's, I think, also a genuine part of like the learning experience. So I feel like you have had this experience, and I feel like you've learned something about energy, and you've learned something about how to protect your energy, or how to take it back. And I think a big part of this is just seeing through the illusion. I think the biggest hurdle in this is some kind of illusion that you're stuck, an illusion that this person, what they're giving you is love and not a trauma bond. Because I think this person's like really holding on to your energy. I think what they want is materialism. And they need good karmas to do it. They don't build good karmas though, and they certainly don't want to cooperate with the system that produces good karmas. They want what they want. So this is the kind of person that is deeply selfish, but they put on a good mask. That's who this kind of person is that does that. And I feel like that's who you kind of bumped up against. And I do think that they have I think that they have a soul. I think that they're deeply ashamed. Because I think that they never expected to get caught or seen or found out, like not from this side of it or anything. And it feels almost flimsy now. Like when I'm looking at it, it feels like it looked so big in your mind before and you felt like you could never get ahead, or that like your energy was just being like siphoned off, or that you would work really hard, but then like the money would never come or something. You're always the one. And it's because I feel like any surplus that you would produce, it didn't go towards you. The fruits of it didn't go towards you. The fruits of it were being siphoned off. And you were, because it feels like this side of things that they're on, it runs on abuse. I want to say it runs on abuse because that's what they know. They build trauma bonds. That's what they know how to do. And I think that even they suffer because it's built on abuse. So I feel like maybe they're from families that are abusive. And again, I'm not saying everybody born in an abusive family is like this. I'm just saying like, this is the qualities that I'm getting. And I think this is maybe a big reason why this energy is like flared up in our world. Like maybe this is some type of broad problem. I don't know, because it does seem like we live just in really exploitative times. And I don't know, or I can't remember if all times on this planet have been this exploitative. I think, other times certainly maybe more so, especially in certain pockets or like, in certain areas, but like, I don't know. It just feels like this is the energy. But yeah, this person is like looking really ashamed. There's a coldness. They're kind of like looking away. Yeah, they're kind of throwing their hands up like, well, I guess this is done. Like you've still got to like separate yourself out, keep doing like your cord cuttings. This is not as like intimidating. Like the magic here isn't like necessarily super strong. It's like illusionary. And I feel like even you can try to connect with whatever force they're cloaked themselves in or wrapped themselves in, because it doesn't know it's being used this way or doesn't want to be used this way. It feels like it's neutral. It's like a neutral force, whatever this is. And it's not supposed to be opinionated. It's not supposed to be weaponized against anyone, So I think that it can maybe assist in freeing itself from whatever this is. It just needs to become conscious as well. It feels like a very parasitic energy. And again, I think it's master of cloaking. It's a master of illusion. And so this is like the trauma bond. They kind of just smash in, which is, it creates a trauma bond. It creates like some kind of intense experience. It like really gets your attention. And then once they've stolen some of the energy, I feel like they, maybe have some of the traits or something. But again, I think all of this, they're showing me, it's drying up, because they're showing me that there was like cords going to this place from multiple people. Like they do this, that they try to steal this like energy. And they're showing me this like kind of makeshift Garden of Eden, but that was built in the middle of the desert, which is highly telling to me, because the desert to me, it's a symbol of Rahu. And Rahu can be, when it's out of balance or out of whack, that energy, when it's not connected to K2 especially, it's greed and it's just lust, and it eats and eats and eats, and it's never enough. And I feel like that's what they are. They're hungry ghosts. They're that's a Buddhist reference in case you want to look that up, but they're hungry ghosts. They are just bottomless pits of greed and materialism and lust. That's what they are. And they do it by feeding off of these like trauma bonds. And I kind of feel like, in this sense, like you're the K2 energy, like you're the body, which is why I'm kind of getting like the body creates and metabolizes energy. It is the thing that facilitates energy. And so I feel like maybe there is some kind of tapping into the body. And, I've picked up on that in readings before, of somebody knowing how to put a root on someone, like during a schmegsual act. And I feel like that was part of it. They knew some kind of method, some kind of routine or like ritual or something that they did in order to tap or steal the energy. And I feel like whatever it was done here. And it's a way to tap the body, which is the channel or the a metabolizer of energy. But then I'm seeing you be like that K2 of the body, because with the stories, Rahu and K2, there's a split in the neck, but I'm seeing this person's the head of like the Rahu thing. And I'm seeing them run far away back to this, like whatever this makeshift Garden of Eden is. Because I feel like they all have a deeply unholy pact with one another. This is not soul bond. This is not soul tie. Like this is, okay, I am going to act like a good faith actor in my soul group, at least when they were kind of turning in their energy and kind of becoming a betrayer. And then they're like, and then whatever I get, I'm going to run off over here to you. And then we have a life path actually planned, all of us in this group of like stealing whatever. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And really they're just being selfish a-holes. They're just a-holes, but they, around each other, because their soul tribe, I think, would expose this, would hold them accountable, because they all receive teaching from the same guides. They all receive teaching from the same gurus. So I think they, out of concern for the soul, a genuine concern, a loving concern for their spiritual path, and they would find this person's behavior odd or strange, and they would step in, and you would step in, and you would say, it'd be like an intervention, but just like, hey, we're worried about you, and you would mean it. But all of them are going to get they provide cover for each other. They make themselves look civilized. They make themselves look like they're winning, and like they are, this is, I'm so sorry to be political. This is the person that like on television, in order to cover for your sins, actually says the phrase, gulp, alternative facts, as if that's a thing. What you mean, ma'am, is a lie or a distortion. There's a fact and there's not a fact, right? But this is the person that does that kind of stuff in order to cover for this like terrible behavior, or in order to spin something, in order to make it seem plausible or better than it actually is, and they all do it for each other. And it just feels like a cohort of awful. And it does feel like the snake in the Garden of Eden. And they say in that story, like, and then the snake was condemned to, it has no legs because it has to like crawl on its belly on the ground, in shame. And that I think is a reference to like, well, if you're going to behave that way, like you don't have any good karmas. And so you have to kind of stay low to the ground. But that's why they try to manipulate, they try to interfere, and they try to get in your mind. And what's crazy, and I don't think you could be certain to know this for sure, but I think that maybe this person was a soulmate. They were a brethren, is what I'm getting. Like, this is like a fallen angel. And the devil was a fallen angel. And the devil was a fallen angel. The devil is, tempting. And so I feel like they pimp out, in a sense, like their own soul tribes for this energetic slavery. And they do it because there's that memory there. where you maybe remember that this person was like your brethren. I'm also getting from like Lord of the Rings, how like the orcs, they're elves that they really tortured, and so this person's like, yeah, it's giving like fallen angel. But this person, and they are ashamed, I think they were fine with it because they're greedy. I'm really getting that the greed is a big factor here, and they wanted a shortcut. And they might be really competitive too. And I don't think they were doing very well. Yeah, because I'm hearing from Divergent, Triss, who is the main character, and she's a girl, and she wasn't doing so hot in the beginning because she had to qualify in for her spot. Otherwise, she was basically going to be like outcasted and homeless. And so she was rising up through the ranks, and one of her friends attacks her in this like canyon stairway and tries to like throw her off the side. And when she's coming down, she was like, I can't believe whatever his name was. Like, I can't believe that he did that. And 4 explains to her, you're rising up through the ranks and he's failing. It makes him hate you and it makes him hate himself. And I feel like that's what this is. But they have this blend of traits. And I think that's what, this guru is saying, that's what I was trying to point at to them. That's what I was trying to explain. I think that's also why they kind of refused to work with them unless they did something kind of extreme. And they're showing me it's because they had this blend of traits that was competitiveness, something very small, like a low self-worth, a competitiveness, whatever it was. The guru, the guide, knew that this is ripeness for the dark side. They knew it. They knew that this person was ripe to fall. I think they know about these marauders, and I think they know that to involve this person, to let them into the hen house with their flock, if you will, is asking for those people to be like targeted or harmed. And the guru is a protective force, and tries to protect its like people. And I feel like for a lot of you, I just heard don't be afraid, because I almost feel like maybe for some of you, this is like spiritual mission. And you might have thought this person was like your twin flame, and you could pick up on some kind of like mission energy together. And I feel like your guru in their infinite wisdom used that, and your curiosity around that, and the fact that you could feel that, and also that there is a trauma bond here, because you do have a mission. And that is to, I think, maybe energetically expose this person, like just allowing the truth to come out, just whatever your setting your intention is, doing your magic in this space. Because I'm kind of getting that the magic is, I'm getting that it's not very strong, or it's definitely not as strong as you think that it is. That's part of the illusion. Part of the illusion is making you feel this like unbreakable bond when it's not. Part of the illusion is making you feel that this is love when it's trauma. And so you don't almost want to break it. It lulls you into this kind of complacency or something. That's the biggest thing it has. Because if you know that that's not what it is, and that you're being stolen from and like siphoned from, and you want free of it, then you'll just figure out how to break free of it. And you'll just gather, it feels like your will just all be in one direction. You won't, I think that's what they've done. They've like split your will, because you do want to move away from this, because this person, like I said, I think that they've stirred up the energy and then they've taken off in some kind of way. And I think that they did it in some kind of traumatic way where you're like traumatized, and they themselves may have been traumatized as well. And I think that doesn't really sit well with you, and it like sticks in your brain or in your energy or something. And that's part of how they can, like when you, I've never done this, but I've seen this in like old movies where like they'll put a tube into like your gas tank in order to siphon the gas out, and they'll suck like a straw, like on the tube, like it was a straw, and they don't suck the gas all the way out to their mouth. But once they get the siphon going, that's what kind of pumps the gas out. It feels like that is what the trauma bond is designed to do. And once you see it, I feel like, and you know what it is, you're no longer in that split state of I want to stay, but I want to go kind of a thing. And you're going to be like full in. I feel like you have to kind of maybe rest a bit and allow that new state of things to just kind of congeal. And then you can just move away from it, and you'll be free of it, and you'll have like so much more energy. And then life will start making more sense to you. Your karmas will start coming into you. This feels almost like one and the same with the Kali Yuga and the time of darkness, and not understanding these energetic things. And I know that this all sounds like kind of kooky. I don't know, but this is just what I'm getting. And so if this energy kind of makes sense to you, I don't think you should be afraid. I think they want you to be afraid. I think they want you to be intimidated. and to think that it's a much bigger foe than it actually is. They kind of want that because then you won't challenge or you won't look any further, but you totally, totally got this. And I'm telling you, like, I didn't quite finish this, but I was seeing this like makeshift Garden of Eden just drying up into this like desert. And it's kind of reminding me of, there's a reading I did not too long ago where there was this third party energy that cloaked her energy very well, seemed very amorphous. And I feel like that's what these people do as well. They kind of wait to see, they're kind of a neutral palette. They don't have a personality. They don't have, their energy isn't really opinionated because they're just thieves, so it's, I'll just be whatever I need to be in the moment in order to exploit, that's what it is. But she approached me in a very cloaked energy, and she was trying to get me to peek in on a divine feminine because the masculine that she was attached to had dried up. Remember that? And I when I looked over there, I saw like a bunch of darkness and everything looked in disarray. He also looked sad and maybe like not healthy. And I thought that was a soulmate connection, and it very well could have been. But that feminine was doing a great job already without even knowing this kind of stuff of protecting her energy from him. And I think she can sever the cord. And I think that this magic is going to wear off, and they're going to be left. I just heard broken and penniless, but like they will be left with their actual karmas, and not what they have stolen and cloaked and thieved from other people. There's some kind of plan in motion. And it could even be because whatever this neutral energy stream thing is, okay, but I just saw Shiva in my mind. I just feel like there's a higher force that has come in here, and maybe you've called it, or it's just noticed, or it was waiting for you. Yeah, I think it was waiting for you to wake up is what I'm getting, just to wake up to the reality of it. Because there is a schooling going on here. There's a learning. And I think you're meant to learn that you're a badass bitch. I just heard, like, you can stand up to this energetically. You can identify it. You can feel it. You're meant to understand the patterns. And I feel like this is what we've been doing. We've been learning about trauma bonds. We've been learning about these like manipulative tactics. We've been learning about selfishness that masquerades as love. We've been all learning about this together, holding hands. We were allowed to be with each other, at least, while you're understanding these kind of like traumatic, what a trauma bond actually is, and what power dynamic is, and what fake is, because these people are fake. They're just fakes. Yeah, I just heard, I got fake people showing fake love to me, straight up to my face. And what's crazy is I do feel like for some of you, this masculine does actually love you. He's like disconnected from his love in order to get what he wants in the material, because he really doesn't believe himself that he can work this kind of karmic path, or he was really attached to something. And I feel like it was one of the traits that this guru said, that's got to go. If I don't mind working with you, but I think they needed to endure some kind of pain in a lifetime in order to deaden. Oh, I see. In order to deaden one of their traits. And this is going to be very graphic, but actually I'm not going to tell you what it is. But I think I've mentioned it in a couple of readings now, where there was something graphic and horrible that was happening to people about 10 years ago. And it was being filmed and like put on the internet. And it was horribly disturbing. And I, for some reason, had a video that was kind of like documentary style about a certain person. It was a very high profile kind of case. And I was deeply disturbed by it. And I was like, why would somebody go through that? Like, why would a soul agree to that kind of lifetime? And immediately the answer in my brain was, he's going for liberation. I just heard he's going for liberation. He's not fucking around with it. And I was like, why? Why does he have to experience that? And I didn't really get an answer. But I feel like it's something like what I'm picking up on here with this guy, I want to say. He needed to undergo some kind of a lifetime in order to break with some type of belief, trait, attachment, something here. So that he was no longer vulnerable in the way that he is on an energetic level. His soul energy was no longer vulnerable to the dark in the way that it is. And he didn't want to do it. That's what I'm getting. Or she, whoever this is, didn't want to do it. Said absolutely not. And so instead, and it's because I think there might be a lot of bad karmas here. I don't know. Or just, I don't know, overcoming weakness. But I feel like the guru said, look, it's this or it's nothing. And then I feel like this person just went and joined like the marauders. And I think it's really sad. Because I do think that, yeah, it's like they're stuck. But I feel like now they've backed themselves into a corner. I feel like now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because I think that I feel like you're not the only one waking up here. There's some kind of energy that's come in to save the day is what it feels like. And it feels like maybe Shiva. I think Shiva's also come in for whatever this neutral force is, where they're like, okay, enough is enough. Because we're also like changing like zodiacal areas. Zodiacal like ages right now. You know, like we're moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and Krishna plays his flute and he'll play a different song, and life will kind of reorganize itself, and we're coming up out of the dark age. We're coming up out of the Kali Yuga. So I think Shiva's like, okay, then that's enough's enough. And he's coming in to destroy certain things here. But I do think it was waiting for you to learn what you needed to learn, but also maybe even just ask for assistance. You know, you don't have to be the one to break this, although I think you can. And I think maybe also you're learning how to fight like dark force energies, or to like, because Shiva has the cobra around his neck, and is like people who do that, like the Agoris, they that is considered the left-hander path, and it said like it leads to death, enlightenment, or it'll make you crazy. One of the three, because it's kind of like the shortcut. But certain people, certain souls, that's their legitimate path. You know, the right-hander path is more like the eightfold path. You know, it's the straight and narrow. It's the slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. And most souls go that path. But they do some like crazy stuff where they're like, they look right at the dark kind of, you know, and they even partake in some kind of thing, you know, and that might have been the path that this soul was encouraged down, actually, was some kind of like left-hander path. And I don't know, like when you read about the Agoris, it's like they do some weird stuff. They'll bury themselves in like fully in snow and like sleep there. And I think this soul was like, no, I'm not doing that, you know, or I don't know, something else. And they were like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I don't know, because it feels like they have some kind of dark streak in them, and this guru can see it, and it's nothing to kind of mess with, you know? And it's like, I will absolutely lead you to the light. I love you dearly. I hope you can overcome this. This is the way that you have to do it. And if you can't do it, if you can't do that, then it's a wrap, you know? There's nothing I can do for you. I'm not putting other people at risk, you know? But I feel like that, and the guru, by the way, didn't make that rule. It's just they're reading the truth of the situation. And I feel like this soul just like didn't really like that, you know? Yeah, it's like they developed in such a way in their early life. And I think it is because of their materialism or something. Yeah. So anyways, I think that I'm going to leave that there. You totally got this. And I feel like you've been pulling back like the veil or something. And again, don't take this message if it doesn't resonate with you, because I feel like it'll make sense with the energy. And the other thing that I'll say is that this kind of reminded me of a reading that I did not too long ago, where a masculine was like gold digging someone. And this feels like maybe gold digging a soulmate, like the reversal of that energy. But this feels like on an energetic level, in order to give to a karmic. And it feels like maybe even a group of karmics. I definitely think that there's no emotional ties over here, but it was in order to give to that group of karmics, in order to, it's stealing like the energy in order to gain in the material. There's just this love of the material. There's this like hyper focus on the material. Yeah. But this is like just a selling out and a betrayal of like a soulmate energy. Yeah. In the worst way. And he won't even look at me. Like his back's towards me. He won't look at me, but I don't really feel a lot of even emotion coming off of it. This feels kind of like, dissociative. It feels like dissociative a bit. They are ashamed, but it just feels like dissociative, of like they separated themselves out. They couldn't really think about it. They felt like they didn't have another choice, because I think what was offered, like it was just so unimaginable to them, or like distasteful. I'm hearing like it was distasteful to them. Yeah. And they didn't trust the motive maybe, but it's coming from a place of love from this guru. I can tell. Because it's like, you're kind of sick, you know, like on a spiritual level, or you could be, you know, if you don't fix this and fix it now kind of thing. Okay. So that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.